Hey everybody, it's Kate from Modern Alternative Mama, and I wanted to talk to you guys today about the vitamin K shot.
Hello, everyone. My name is Beth, or Queen of Spade, and today I would like to introduce you all to Kate. Now, Kate once did, and I think she still kind of does sometimes, went by Modern Alternative Mama. She is a very, very well known for talking a lot of, anti-vax stuff. She's very well known for discussing alternative medicine and new age pseudoscience medicine, as I call it. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the woman who created the MLM, Earthley.
Oh, you wanna be a boss too? Learn to handle your business, man. I got a couple of arrangements. I just been doing it different. I'm trying to build an engagement. Gotta keep working and putting out content. They say this was the ending. It's only the beginning. Watch me get away with murder, about to make a killing. I ain't stopping, I ain't quitting, I ain't giving up for nothing. Someone come and tell these motherfuckers I'm just getting started. I'm just getting started. Someone tell these motherfuckers I'm just getting started. Not fuck with the drama. I'm trying to fuck up some commas. I'd rather make me some dollars. I'm doing good, just like my karma. Two-face, I can't trust that. You spread lies, I state facts. Heard your songs, they all whack. Telling these rappers to fall back.
How do we put it? Pro-medical, pro-science people who've said that you absolutely have to have it, and that if you don't have it, that your baby is going to die, and that the only people that would refuse such a thing are stupid anti-vaxxers who totally don't know what they're talking about, and that's just really stupid and it's really wrong.
I don't know, Kate, and you yourself are an anti-vaxxer, and so when I'm hearing you discuss this, I have to wonder in my mind a little bit, are you just doing this because you're an anti-vaxxer and you've had enough of the hate from that? Or are you doing this because you actually think it's the best thing? Are you anti-vax because you think it's the best thing? These are just the questions I have. Especially now that I know that you're running Earthley.
And here's the truth. Just like any other medical intervention, we need to have an honest look at the risks and benefits of getting the vitamin K shot or not getting the vitamin K shot. And it's not fair to say that there aren't risks to getting it or not getting it, and that there aren't benefits to getting it or not getting it, because...
Now, see, that I can agree with. I do agree that if you are pro-medicine, pro-vax, you should not always just be all okay with everything that comes out. Always have critical thinking skills, and of course, always ask the appropriate questions and ensure that it is safe for you to take. But I don't know if that's exactly what we're going to be hearing here. I'm scared.
Of course, like anything else, there's good and bad. So we need to understand a little bit more about why do we get the vitamin K shot, why do they recommend it for all newborns, and what happens if your baby doesn't get it.
So I am no expert. I am not a nurse. I don't do prenatal. I don't do postnatal. I am not an expert in any of this at all. I am not coming here pretending to be. All I am is a mom who knows enough about this from being a mom and the research I've done on it as of recently. And I just want to kind of show you guys who Kate is, what she believes, the way she conducts herself, etc., etc., etc.
So the vitamin K shot actually dates back almost 100 years, back to around the 1920s, 30s, somewhere in there. And babies were having a lot of issues with, it was called hemorrhagic I'm pronouncing it right, I can spell it, disease of the newborn at that time. They didn't really know that it was related to vitamin K, but they figured it out somewhere around that time in the 30s and 40s. And the name was later changed to vitamin K deficiency bleeding because babies can bleed for a lot of reasons, but this type of bleeding in particular seemed to be related to not having enough vitamin K.
Okay, so there you have it. The reason why the shot was basically created was because they realized that this disease is related to not having enough vitamin K. Especially if the mother's not taking enough, the baby's not going to get enough. So let's hear what else Kate has to say about this.
So you should know that the absolute risks of your baby, if your baby does not get the shot, that the risk of your baby developing any type of bleeding because of it is no greater than about 1 in 1,000. And that's for the classical bleeding. If you have some kind of risk factors, if you're on some kind of medication that affects your blood's ability to clot, or if you have liver disease or something along those lines.
Okay, but here's the thing. That to me is too big of a chance. When you're a mom and you're becoming a mom and you're having your baby, especially if it's your first child, I'm just throwing that out there, like all you care about is ensuring that your kid is going to be safe. So even 1 in a bazillion chance of your kid getting this is not good for you. You want to prevent any harm that could ever come to your child. Okay? So, if they were like, this is what basically happens. They say to you, okay, there is a chance. It might be a teeny, 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 teeny small chance, but there is still a chance. Do you want this shot? And most of us that are parents would, of course, not even want to take the chance. And we would be like, okay, let's see how Kate thinks.
Now, if you don't have any risk factors, your baby's absolute risk without a vitamin K shot developing some type of bleeding is closer to 1 in 20,000. So this is not something that's common. It never has been. And it's just not that risky all the way around.
But says who? See, now this is the thing that I have an issue with. 1 in 20,000 chance is too risky to, I want to say, most parents, okay? 20,000 is actually not that high of a number. Now, if you told me that there was 1 in 20 million chance, I might give you a little bit more leeway. But 1 in 20,000 is not really that high of a number. 1 in 10,000, okay, do you know how many babies are birthed every day in this world? It's like, what if your baby is that 20,000th baby born in a row and it just happens to be your baby? You know what I mean? Like, is it a chance that is worth like giving up? Is it a risk that's worth taking? That is kind of what you have to weigh yourself as a parent. And like I said, to most of us, we would want to protect our kid at all costs.
But the argument for getting it is that if the bleeding does develop, that it can be very serious, that your baby could, there's about a third of a chance, that is 1/3 of babies who do develop a late onset bleed will have some kind of a permanent disability or they will die from it.
Okay, so 1 in 3 of the babies who don't get the special K shot and who could potentially get this will be extremely, extremely ill or die. So again, is it worth it to not get it? I guess that's up to you.
And so the thinking goes, well, we don't see huge risk factors. It's just a vitamin, so why not get it even though the risk of having the bleed is super low?
Okay, yep, no, I'm on board with that.
And if that were true, if it were just a vitamin, if it were nothing else, there's no risk.
Oh no, here we go, guys. Here we go.
Risk to it, then sure, why not? But
I'm so scared.
But the truth is, it's way more complicated than that. So the vitamin K shot is a 1 milligram one-time injection. And there's absolutely no reason why they began giving that amount. It's just that in the 50s, they started giving different amounts and trying to figure out kind of what's right and what's wrong. And they noticed at lower amounts that it didn't really work, and that when they got much higher amounts that it caused like severe jaundice and other kinds of complications.
So wait, you just told me that, I'm like, what? You literally just told me that you had no clue why they're giving that amount, and then you explained to me why. That's what I just heard. So you're like, we have no clue why they gave this amount, but when they gave less, it didn't work, and when they gave more, it was dangerous. So why is it this amount? Come on, Kate.
And so they kind of settled around 1 milligram. And some hospitals give 0.5 milligrams, some give 1. It varies depending on kind of where you are.
Okay, so then they've decided that the safe dose and the dose that works is between 0.5 and 1 milligram. So that makes a lot of sense to me, Kate. Why doesn't that make sense to you, Kate? Why?
The package insert states that either one is acceptable. So there's not a lot of studies about why we give the amounts that we give, and it is a huge dose compared to what a newborn would typically need in a day. Further, according to the package inserts, we don't actually know what happens with the vitamin K once it gets into the body. We know that it goes to the liver first, and then we don't really know what happens after that. Like,
are you kidding me right now? Really, Kate? Really, you don't know what happens to it? And the one thing that she said here is that it's a one-time dose, and she's not sure why they give you like more than a kid would need in a day, because it's not just giving you the baby its daily intake of the vitamin. It's like giving them an extra amount to prevent something bad from happening to them. And it's also to help kind of build their immunity up to the vitamin K so that they can continue to get the protection that gives them from this. I feel like you did no research for this at all, Kate.
There's not a lot of data on how it's metabolized by the body. It doesn't come out in like we can't find it in the urine or other metabolites. Like later, they're not seeing it there, so they're not completely sure like how long it stays in the body, or how it breaks down, or how it's used, or anything like that. So there's not a lot of solid evidence that it's going to make that much of a difference to your baby's health weeks or months down the road.
Okay, but weeks or months down the road, hopefully your baby has been getting a sufficient amount of the vitamin K and it's already had that vaccine. So it's been jumpstart and it's all right. It's good to go. They give the vaccine to the baby as soon as the baby's born. It's a newborn shot.
And in fact, there are no randomized clinical trials looking at using the vitamin K shot for a late onset bleed. Which is kind of crazy because they're supposed to be practicing evidence-based medicine.
What? You know that they have obviously tested this enough to know what dosage to give out for it to work and for it to, not be dangerous. So what do you mean? There are clinical studies. It absorbs into your body afterwards, like it's supposed to, because you need it. And then several weeks down the line, hopefully by then, the baby, first of all, it's no longer a newborn several weeks, it's like a month old. So after that, hopefully it's getting the nutrients through you and through, a lot of parents start giving their kids baby food around 2 to 3 months. So then they would be getting it from that. Do you understand? Also, the risk is no longer there for what you're trying to prevent. What you're trying to prevent mainly happens in newborns, very, very, very young kids. And it obviously does work for that length of time. All you need to know, Kate, why are you trying to complicate shit?
There is evidence that if you have specific risk factors and your baby is at risk of a classic bleed, which occurs between 1 day and 1 week after birth, that the vitamin K shot does reduce risks there.
Okay.
But past that 1 week mark, there's no high quality evidence that the shot actually makes that much a difference to your baby's health. Now, they are basing the recommendation to keep getting it on the fact that, like looking at general populations or surveys or kind of data after the fact, that bleeds seem to be less common in babies who have had the shot versus not had the shot.
Okay, so again, what are you talking about? They haven't been keeping track of it or doing the studies.
But again, we don't have a lot of strong data to prove that. We don't 100% know what's happening. It just seems to be less common, but the absolute risk is pretty low either way.
So you just want to know more information on it, but then when you went and did this video, you obviously didn't do a whole lot of research on these things, Kate.
So, what are the risks to the shot itself? Well, there's some preservatives in it that have been linked to toxicity in newborns, and it depends on what the preparation is and what the dilutions are and things like that. But
Okay, so then there you go. They obviously are not going. This is my thing with this. Whenever they bring this up, the anti-vax people especially, my whole thing is obviously they are not giving the amount that would be toxic in the shot. So it doesn't matter. What do you mean? This is very similar to the whole, like, there's metals in vaccines that cause autism BS, right? It's like, it's not toxic, okay? Like, you can look up something and it will say that, it could be semi-bad for you, but if given in teeny, teeny, teeny doses, then it is okay. For example, that's what they do with the vaccines. And I have done lots of videos on vaccines. We've gone through our /anti-vax. So I know this may not be like the best way that I've ever talked about vaccines in my life. You can go check out other videos on that. It's just, I had to go through this and discuss it and react to this.
Benzyl alcohol in particular is not supposed to be used with the shot because it's linked to toxicity in newborns. There's a black box warning. You'll see a lot of people talking about the black box warning. So that's actually specifically for the intravenous use, which is extremely dangerous and should not be used in newborns. And I think unless there's already a bleed existing, is not used in newborns.
Okay, so then what was the whole issue, Kate?
As far as I know, that doesn't apply to the intramuscular injection of the vitamin K.
Okay, so they do give you injections. Okay, you're confusing me now, woman.
But people they do have allergic reactions to it. They do, they're more likely to have jaundice and things like that. Some babies, can have other types of reactions to it. They might have poor feeding. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of data about what the negative reactions are. Like, there's some stuff in the package insert, but they don't seem to keep good track of the data of like what happens to newborns who get it. And since it's so universal, it's going to be really difficult to figure out what are the differences between babies who get it versus babies who don't.
You literally just told me that they've been checking it out that. Like, you literally just said that they have been looking at the data for that and that they've shown it and then turn around and said that there is none. I feel like that's what this whole thing is so far.
We also need to ask, why are babies' levels low? Because all babies are born with levels that are similar but are much lower than adult levels. And at the time when they started giving these vitamin K injections to babies pretty universally, they didn't know that. They didn't know that a baby's level was supposed to be low. They thought that there was something wrong with these babies, and that's why their vitamin levels were lower. And they were correcting a problem by giving them this injection. And we now know that that's not true, that all babies are born with this lower level on purpose.
Okay, so then that to me would mean even more so, we need this injection.
And they ignore that these levels are supposed to be low and give them this supplement anyway because they're worried about this possible late onset bleed weeks or months down the road.
I don't know if it's that they're supposed to be. See, you're saying it's supposed to be, and in order to go through that way of thinking, I gotta believe that there's some like being in the sky that decides for us how things are supposed to be, or science is like against us, or our biology is against us in some way because it like makes us all born with a vitamin K deficiency. But so it's not like that's how it's supposed to be. See, that makes it funny to me that you're trying to put so much importance on that word here. Very, very very big linguistic manipulation tactic, Kate. I understand now why you're so good at running that MLM Earthley you got there. So it's not that it's supposed to be, it's that it just is.
And I think that we need to consider what the vitamin K levels are supposed to be and why. So there's evidence that when the blood is a little bit thinner, which is what happens when the vitamin K levels are a little bit lower, that the stem cells can move more freely through the body, which can help the baby develop properly. So if your baby doesn't have their cord cut right away, of course there are lots of stem cells in the umbilical cord. We all know that, hopefully. The mainstream medical people admit that that's true. And the stem cells that should get to your baby when you delay the cord clamping are supposed to move through their body to help with their development. So if you give them a vitamin K injection, then that process is going to be a little bit more difficult. Now, we haven't studied that, so we don't really know exactly the ramifications of of giving them the vitamin K and what happens to those stem.
But that's why it helps with the bleeding. Do you not understand that? I mean, my understanding of it when I researched this is that it just slows it down just enough. It's not like it slows it down to slow mode and stops working as well. It's like it just slows it down a little teeny bit, just enough so that if the bleeding does occur, it's not going to be as bad as it would, again, if you didn't get the injection.
Cells, but we have to assume that it's not the way it's supposed to be. There's probably something there, and that's probably something that we should be studying, we should be looking at.
Now, I can agree that we should be studying everything more. I am all about, continually studying things. I'm not saying, yep, the study for this has been done and all the information is perfect, let's go. It's just, in my opinion, the way that she's arguing about it isn't the best way, and she's anti-vax. I know this. And she runs an MLM that's very much anti-vax. I did a video on it. You can go check it out. And so, knowing that, I know where she's coming from with this. So it's actually just an anti-vax rhetoric way of basically saying that we shouldn't be getting this shot. It's kind of like fear mongering. So she's just kind of putting it out into the world so that people worry about it more than they really need to. But I do think that in science and medicine especially, we should continually research and continually be doing studies and etc. I just know that the medical field is pretty good about that, especially when it comes to newborns and keeping track of whole humans and their beginning and how things can play out. So in terms of things like the shots we get, they do really look into that. And so she's just talking a bunch of nonsense. But again, I am all for us continuing in the education of all of these topics.
More about the vitamin K. Sorry, you guys, I lost my train of thought there for a second. So that's one important aspect that they're missing right there, is that lower vitamin K levels in the body have an actual function. Then they say that the babies that are most at risk of a bleed are babies that are exclusively breastfed, because the babies that are formula fed are getting more vitamin K that's in that formula. So if a baby is following the biological norm, it's born naturally, the cord is cut later, it's exclusively breastfed, and those are the babies that are most at risk of a bleed, we have to say, well, why is that?
You just told us why. Because they have more of it in the formula versus breast milk. I mean, unless you're going to tell me that those who are breastfeeding that they're the ones that should be taking this vitamin K shots in order to give their baby that vitamin K, then I could get on board with maybe that way of thinking. The mom will feed the baby through her breast milk, that extra vitamin K or whatever. But otherwise, I don't understand and wouldn't agree with you on anything you're about to say here, or anything you just said or have said in this whole video, actually.
because babies should not require fixing in terms of getting a vitamin K shot if they are otherwise normal and healthy in order to prevent a disease.
But maybe they should, because I think that, preventative measures to ensure your kid's safety and health in this world are just fine. And one of those preventative measures are the vaccines.
So what else is going on? They're not born with a lack of a vitamin K shot. They're not born with levels that are abnormally low. There's another reason here. So vitamin K is synthesized in the gut flora, and as baby gets older and their gut flora develops, then they should start synthesizing their own vitamin K. And
very good. And that's why, oh Lord, do I really have to say it again? That's why you get the injection, and that's why it gets absorbed into your bloodstream during the first few weeks, and then by the time you don't need it anymore and it's out of your body, you are doing what you're saying right now, Kate. See, you're like so close, but like not quite getting it.
And that should prevent a late onset bleed. So if that's not happening, then there's something else that's going on. So typically that would mean that there's a gut issue or there's a liver issue in mom or the baby, and we may not know what it is, but this is kind of an area that people haven't fully researched yet, but I really feel like we should, because rather than just saying, oh, well, vitamin K levels are low, who cares, let's just give them more, we need to really understand the biological norm of why the levels are naturally lower and how we can help them get back to the levels that they should have when they're older if they're not getting there on their own.
We really only need to protect them when they're a newborn.
So basically, there are a lot of good reasons to skip the vitamin K shot in a healthy newborn. If you do have known liver issues, or if there's some kind of a history of genetic disorders, or if there's hepatitis, or...
But here's the thing, I'm adopted, I have no clue. So, is it really safe? Should we be spreading the information that it's okay for us to skip things that are supposed to protect our babies and ensure their best health that doctors tell us to do? Or should we listen to Kate here from Earthley Wellness tell us, the anti-vax lady, tell us about these? You know what I mean?
If you have clotting disorders, things like that, then there may be an indication to get the vitamin K shot.
Okay, but what if you don't have those, but then your kid might? See, and that's why they just give them to all. Does that make sense?
Or to do an oral vitamin K because you know that there's specific risk factors there. Now, they've known for probably 30 years now that the oral vitamin K is actually better and it's more physiologically normal than getting an injection. And the main reason, at least according to an article in the British Medical Journal, is that there is not a company that makes an oral vitamin K. That's their main reason for not giving it. They give the injection because they have an injection that's approved for newborns, and a company won't make an oral one for whatever reason. Probably it could be because it's not worth the money. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons why they might not do that, but...
I love how she tried to throw that out there, right? They also have found that it's a lot harder to give newborn babies an oral dose of the vitamin K and then have the baby actually swallow it, keep it, not spit it back up. That's the thing about newborn babies, especially, that she's not considering, is that whenever you feed them something, they spit a lot back up. They'll spit out certain things. So they would have to get a company to make one. It would have to be something that absorbed into the baby's mouth extremely, extremely quickly. And then there would be no real way for us to ensure that the baby would keep it down after that, because if they spit up after that, even, a little bit later, we wouldn't know that they then got that dose. When they give it in an injection, there is no chance of the baby spitting that up or getting rid of it, or it not fully absorbing into the baby's mouth, because they put it right into the muscle. It goes right into the bloodstream. Oh, Kate, you're a mom and you don't get this. And I gotta ask why. It's hurting my head, Kate.
They don't give the oral because they don't make an oral, but there's evidence that if the baby's given 1 milligram orally every week or 2 milligrams every 2 weeks, and I'll post my links at the end so you guys can read all these articles for yourself, that that effectively prevents issues as well.
Okay, so wait. You're not against the child getting the vitamin K. You're just against how they give it. You just don't like that it's given in an injection instead. So you're all worried about, at the beginning of this video, you're all worried about how we were giving our newborns an injection of this and how it was a high dose according to you. And now you're telling me that instead you would rather give it to your child orally every single week or every single 2 weeks till when? The end of time? I mean, then I feel like you're giving your baby a lot more than what the injection is. Did you not think of that, Katie?
So if you do feel like you have risk factors, you do have some options there. If you do, I would personally recommend not being a medical professional, and you can talk to your doctor about this. If you feel like you need some vitamin K supplementation, then I would look into getting an oral dose that's preservative free and doing that 1 milligram a week for about the first 6 to 8 weeks. And you can talk again to your medical professional to verify.
Please do. And your medical professional would probably tell you to please get the injection and then explain it to you a heck of a lot better than this lady does.
That that's kind of what's right for you and that's best for your baby. And that's in a situation where, like, if you had some liver issues like cholestasis or something when you were pregnant, I would look into it there.
Oh, now it's only when you're pregnant? What if you have them before you're pregnant? Then what?
If you have a lot of gut damage to where, like, you're not producing vitamin K and you pass that on to your baby, that might be a situation where you would look into it.
You don't know what you're passing on. You would have to know your entire hereditary history in order to really be 100% certain that this would be a similar preventative measure to just giving your kid the vitamin K injection.
If you have hepatitis, if you have known liver issues, that you might look into it there.
But exactly.
If you and baby are healthy, then there shouldn't be a reason.
See, she got so close. I'm sorry, guys, but she got so close. She was like, if you have known liver issues, that's my other point is, how do you know? You could have a slight liver issue or be vitamin K deficient and not know. Especially not know necessarily when your baby is being born and you have like all this other stuff going on with your pregnancy and that. It's just, is it worth the risk? That's the real question here. And that is about all I can hear Kate ramble on about that. Let me know down in the comments below if you would like me to go into more detail about this and the vitamin K shot and what the anti-vax community thinks about it. Tell me down in the comments. And no matter where you are or what you're doing, I hope that you have a fabulous, fabulous day. And I will see you in the next one, which will be probably whenever I like because I'm crazy like that. Take care. Bye.
Hey everybody, it's Kate from Modern Alternative Mama, and I wanted to talk to you guys today about the vitamin K shot.
Oh, shut up, Kate.
Someone tell these motherfuckers I'm just getting started. Now fuck with the drama. I'm trying to fuck up some commas. I'd rather make me some dollars. I'm doing good, just like my karma. Two-face, I can't trust that. You spare lies, I state facts. Heard your songs, they all whack. Telling these rappers to fall back. I just keep making the music. I never making excuses. I gotta keep myself focused. The rest of y'all niggas is useless. Drop a song, they want more. Gotta give them what they ask for. On the road to success, dog. I ain't taking no detour. Focus only on the positive. Everything else is irrelevant. Didn't want to see me blow up. Now they all gotta deal with it. Trying to take care of my fam, though. I need that money unlimited. The lifestyle that you rap about, we all know you ain't living it. I just keep giving that quality. That's why you rappers ain't qualified. I just been changing the whole vibe. I ain't stopping till I'm satisfied. Join the game on beast mode. No help, no cheat code. Headshot, then I reload. Catch me all in the kill zone. They say this was the ending. It's only the beginning. Watch me get away with murder, about to make a killing. I ain't stopping, I ain't quitting, I ain't giving up for nothing. Someone come and tell these motherfuckers I'm just getting started. get it.